How's it going, everybody? My name is Philip, and today we're going to be reacting to the rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool. Now, obviously, as someone that has been more recent into English football, I did not know that there's a rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester United. Obviously, I know the obvious ones of Liverpool and Everton due to local, and same with Manchester United and City. And also Birmingham and Aston Villa, also, because I support Aston Villa, even though they don't really play much anymore, because Birmingham seriously cannot just get out of the championship. Just gonna throw that out there. I'm not talking shit. I'm just, they just can't get out. But yeah. I'm definitely interested in how it started and why it started, or what exactly. I mean, so yeah, I'm again. I didn't realize this. So let's check it out. As always, the link to the original video will be down in the description down below if you want to go check that out. And here we go.
English football has many rivalries, derbies, and bad blood shared between countless teams. However, if we're looking simply at the top flight, there's one that arguably overshadows them all, even their own local derbies, United versus Liverpool, two of the most storied clubs in the country. Now, as alluded to, it may not be a local derby, but it's a rivalry born of the fight to dominate the history books of English football. How's it going? I'm Adrian, and welcome to another edition of Roots of the Rivalry, where for the first time, we aren't covering a local derby. Well, some do refer to this as the Northwest Derby, but there's still 35 miles of the M62 motorway separating them. Speaking of which, if you have an interest in the Merseyside Derby, El Clasico, El Super Clasico, the Milan Derby, or the Rome Derby, then I've linked to our Roots of the Rivalry playlist in the comments below.
I will have to check that out,
get into it
because I know nothing.
The hatred shared between Liverpool and Manchester United fans is, what's contributed to it over the years, and some foundational history of the clubs for good measure. In fact, why don't we start right there with the older of the two teams, Manchester United. In 1878, workers from the carriage and wagon department of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Depot in Newton Heath formed a football team that went by the name of Newton Heath LYR. LYR, of course, standing for Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. These members of the carriage and wagon department would compete against other departments within the Newton Heath Depot.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of interesting that they were not called Manchester United to begin with. Did not know that.
Against other teams within the LYR, and at times against teams from other rail companies entirely. In the first match on record of the Newton Heath LYR football team, they lost to Bolton Wanderers reserve team 6-0. At this point, they were still just an amateur team. In fact, in 1888, when the Football League was formed, the members of Newton Heath LYR didn't consider themselves A, good enough to join, and B, serious enough competitively to join the league. So it wasn't until the 1892-93 season that they finally decided to join the Football League, having since cut their ties with the LYR, and joining simply as Newton Heath. Their first season went quite poorly, winning only 6 of their 30 matches and finishing in dead last. Their second season,
damn, that's terrible. And to think that there's no promotion relegation at this time either, because obviously they didn't get relegated, or they did and he hasn't gotten to that part yet.
Same story, dead last, and this time relegated to the second tier of English professional football by a certain club from Merseyside, but we'll discuss that meetup later. And Newton Heath would remain in the second division for quite a while. And from there, things would only get worse for United, as financial struggles would plague the team for years to come as they nosedived down the standings in the second tier of English football. That is until 1902, when local brewery owner and eventual president of the club, John Henry Davies, got together with other business owners to bail Newton Heath out of their £2,670 of debt.
That doesn't sound like a lot at all. But I understand at the time, that's like a couple $1 million, right? I think it's crazy. This has nothing to do with the game or the video. But I think it's crazy. Looking back, so my great-grandfather, he built the house that my great-grandmother and my grandmother lived in and everything. And he helped literal records of everything that he bought. He only built his house for like $9,000, which is insane to think about. It's just crazy how things have changed. That's like half a year's rent now in this area. That's ridiculous.
In exchange for some ownership and control of the club. Part of said control was a changing of the name to better represent the city of Manchester. Some of the options on the table were Manchester Central and Manchester Celtic, but Manchester United was ultimately chosen in April of 1902.
Okay.
Well, actually, if you look at United's official history, it says April/May of 1902. United's rise through the ranks of the league happened almost immediately, with Manchester United sealing promotion back into the first division in 1906, making their return in the 1906-07 season, where they finished in a respectable 8th. And the following year, they smashed the league, finishing 9 points ahead of the second place Aston Villa for the first league title in their history.
How dare you!
And the following year, they won their first FA Cup title. As for United's home of Old Trafford, they first played in that stadium on February 19th, 1910, against who else but Liverpool. However, it wasn't a happy day for United, as Liverpool won a 7-goal thriller 4-3. In 1911, United won another league title, but from there on, it all got a little dark for them as they promptly became somewhat of a yo-yo club. We'll pause on their history there as we take a quick look at Liverpool's...
Hold up. How you go from being top of the league to then being a yo-yo club? What happened that all of a sudden you go from top? Did like a bunch of people retire and you had to rebuild or some shit? Like, what the hell?
Foundational history.
Okay.
Now, I took a very deep dive into it in our video on the Merseyside Derby, but I'll explain some things here. If you have watched that video already and you feel that you're familiar with the foundational history of Liverpool, then you can go ahead and skip to this time code. But if you're sticking around, then Liverpool Football Club was actually a product of Everton Football Club, which was founded some 14 years before Liverpool FC came to exist.
Interesting.
So, how did Liverpool come to be? Well, Everton's success brought in many fans, and the growing popularity of the relatively newly founded football league meant that the new owner of Everton's home ground, Anfield, John Holding, demanded much higher rent payments from Everton. In essence, doubling what they had been paying to the previous owner over the course of a few seasons. For this reason, Everton ended up leaving Anfield for Goodison Park in 1892.
Okay, I was about to say, because Anfield, I know for a fact, is not an Everton stadium. I was about to say, that's... Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's go.
Thus leaving John Holding with a stadium but no team to play in it. Holding appointed John McKenna to put together a squad for Liverpool. With McKenna having strong links to Scottish football, Liverpool's inaugural team consisted of 9 Scottish players of the 13-man squad. Liverpool's first professional season was spent competing in the second division, in which they had an undefeated season, finishing in first. And this is where Liverpool and Manchester United, at the time still known as Newton Heath, first met. In what was known as a test match, the team that finished last in the Football League First Division would face off against the winner of the Second Division. With United finishing in last in the 1893-94 season, they faced Liverpool in a test match to see who was worthy of First Division football and who would play on in the Second Division.
That's an interesting concept.
In this first ever meeting between Liverpool and United, or Newton Heath at the time, remember, Liverpool won 2-0. Liverpool promoted, United sent down to the Second Division.
Wow.
Okay, so we know how both clubs began, but now let's get into the crux of the video. Why these two teams hate each other so much. Well,
tell me.
First of all, the cities themselves have a bit of a rivalry that dates back to the Depression of the 1800s. But to understand that, we have to go back even further, before and during the time that England and the rest of Europe were in the midst of the Industrial Revolution. For Manchester, it was the cotton industry, with the city coming to be known as Cottonopolis, for its numerous warehouses where the locally milled cotton was stored and sold. For Liverpool, given that they're a port city, the shipping industry was, of course, where they excelled.
That's the one thing I know about Liverpool.
Quite a few decades of history, early on, these two cities actually worked together for mutual profit. Manchester provided the product, cotton, and Liverpool took care of exporting it. But then, in the 1870s and onward, the Long Depression hit England, and the cost to send product from Manchester to Liverpool via train, on top of having to pay Liverpool shipping prices, simply didn't make sense for Manchester anymore. Thus, The plans to build a canal to bring large ships straight into the newly created port of Manchester was underway in the 1880s, much to the discontent of Liverpool, whose port and ships were no longer necessary to Manchester's exporting and importing processes. That was one of, if not the earliest of relationship-altering events that drove a wedge between the two cities at a cultural level and political. Both were contending to be the city in the Northwest, and as we know, these intercity rivalries often find their way into all walks of life, like in art, where, for example, Liverpool produced one of the greatest bands of all time in the Beatles, Manchester produced the likes of Oasis, the Smiths, and Joy Division, among others. So, of course, the rivalry then spills into sport.
Not gonna lie, I think Oasis is the only one of those that I've ever heard of. No, the Smiths as well, but I haven't heard any of their music. So 2 from Manchester, 1 from Liverpool. Even though that's a big one from Liverpool, as you can see, right there. I mean, that's a big one for Liverpool, though. Like, jeez.
So you take that pre-existing rivalry between the two cities and then add in an incredible amount of success for each of their marquee clubs, and you have the birth of a great rivalry. In sporting terms, the rivalry really started to kick off from the 1950s onward. Manchester United and their legendary manager, Sir Matt Busby, reinvigorated their aging squad in the early 1950s with young talents that were dubbed the Busby Babes. Of course, tragically in 1958, the Munich air disaster, in which a flight carrying the entire Manchester United squad crashed on the runway,
Damn.
7 Manchester United players.
Jeez.
Busby built up United from the tragedy once
that George
again
Best?
around the surviving members of the squad. With these new players and with the previous generation of the Busby Babes, Sir Matt Busby made United one of the most successful English sides in the 50s and 60s, winning 5 First Division titles, 2 FA Cups, and a European Cup.
Wow.
Where was Liverpool during this? Well, from 1955 to 62, Liverpool were actually in the 2nd Division of English football.
Ooh.
That is, until their legendary manager came along, Bill Shankly. While Man United were enjoying success, Shankly secured promotion back into the 1st Division, and in his 2nd season in the top flight, beat out Man United by 4 points to win the league title.
Oh, wow.
The Shankly era would see Liverpool and United have successes, with Liverpool winning 3 league titles and 2 FA Cups. From there, however, Liverpool would build upon the foundations that Shankly had laid down until 1974, with Bob Paisley taking over for what would be the start of Liverpool's dominance of the 1970s and 80s. 11 league titles and no less than 4 European Cups in the 1970s and 80s alone would make Liverpool the most successful English side of that time period.
Not gonna lie, you might want to watch that trophy after it's been in bed with a dude. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm sure it's not as dirty as what it could be now, but you never know.
As well as one of the most successful sides in Europe in general. However, the tides would change dramatically in English football with the arrival of Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United.
The OG.
Leaving Liverpool and their cup-winning exploits back in the 1980s. Though Ferguson's impact wasn't immediate, he would then go on to make Manchester United the team of the Premier League era.
Yeah.
Winning the first title in the 1992-93 season. United's first league title since 1967. When Ferguson arrived, United had 7 league titles to their name, 11 behind Liverpool's 18. But by the time Ferguson had retired in 2013, he not only closed the gap, but took United beyond Liverpool as far as league titles go, winning 13 to take their tally up to 20.
Damn.
2 more than Liverpool, and 2 European Cups to take United within 2 of Liverpool's 5. The power structure in England went from near complete dominance in the 1970s and 80s from Liverpool, an era in which they almost won a league title every other season, to United doing the same in the 90s and still finding success in the 21st century, something that Liverpool is yet to do. But that doesn't make things any less tense. In fact, with Liverpool having an increase in fortunes under Jurgen Klopp, while United have regressed since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson, the rivalry still has some heat to it. An intercity rivalry born from the Scousers hating the Manx as far back as the 1800s.
Interesting
rivalry that, when
names.
translated to sports, saw the Reds of Liverpool tear away from the chasing pack, seemingly untouchable by all accounts as far as their successes go, only to get hit hard by a now 28-year dry spell when talking about league titles. For 28 years, they've had to watch their bitter rivals, previously not even on the same playing field as themselves, win 13 league titles, 2 European Cups, and 5 FA Cup titles. An era that saw United...
Sorry, I just want to check. This was made in 2018, and I believe Liverpool won it recently, 19? Did they win it in 2019 or something like that? Yeah.
Produced the class of 92, an incredible cast of players that Ferguson was sure to instill a deep-rooted hate.
Yo, who's this? I have an idea of who he looks like. He looks like a young David Beckham. Am I wrong? He kind of looks like a young David Beckham. And then this over here, he's that... It's not... I don't know why I want to say Phil Neville. That's definitely not Phil Neville. Scholes! Was it Paul? Pete? Phil? No, it's not Philip Scholes. But his last name, that's who he kind of reminds me of. Scholes. Whatever his last name was.
For Liverpool in their conquest to, as Ferguson himself put it, quote, knock Liverpool off their perch. That said,
Damn.
as things stand in this moment, I get the feeling that these two rivals are heading in opposite directions once again, with Liverpool in the ascendancy and United heading towards torpidity. No matter their fortunes, however, whether either team is successful or not, the hate between these two sets of fans will live on no matter the circumstances. That will about do it for this edition of Rabona TV's Roots of the Rivalry. If you enjoyed this video, then a like is appreciated.
Okay, so that's actually really interesting. I did not know that. Just that it kind of started city-wise and then moved into sports. It's actually kind of, honestly, I think that's kind of cool. But I would like to learn more about some other rivalries. Doesn't necessarily have to be like English, even though I've been wanting to get more into English football, primarily because out of the last few years since Aston Villa's finally been able to come up into the championship, I've been able to watch a lot more of their games, which is great, and I love it. And so it's just, hopefully they continue to stay in the Premier League so that I can continue to watch them, because Championship, it's tough to find and watch. Even with ESPN Plus, it's still very tough to watch. Find a way to watch it. Like, I can still watch it if I find a way to watch it, but it's not like, anyways, yeah. No, but I don't know. I would love to see something like that happen for like a MLS side. Just saying, because with the progression of the league, I feel like it would be kind of fun to give a little emphasis, a little love to the MLS here and there. I know that we're still growing, 25 years, a little over 25 years now, growth in the league, and with now that we're selling a lot of players like Pepe and Busio. And obviously there's a bunch of rumors on the San Jose Earthquakes homegrown, Cade Cowell. People like to throw around Barcelona for whatever reason, whether that's true or not. It's one of those where I'm just like, sure, I guess. Especially with Messi not there anymore, it's just like, okay, cool. I'd rather him learn from Messi than learn from... I don't even know who's there. Suarez moved on. Neymar's at PSG. Who's at Barcelona still? That'll be a good attacker now that Messi's gone. Like, Barcelona's they're in trouble right now. I get you're in a rebuilding phase, but like, come on. I mean, you still gotta make sure you give your fans something, Like, you're getting rid of all your players now, and it's just like, ouch. Like, you had Messi for so long, and then it's like, now what? What you got? Who you got? But it's definitely interesting to learn about these rivalries, and I would love to know more about other rivalries. If there's another video on anything like story related, like on apparently the flight crash of the Manchester United players, I should probably look that up. Like certain stories like that. things that happen, disasters, whatever it may be. Let me know in the comment section below and I'll check it out. I definitely don't know anything really when it comes to English football. I know more MLS side of the sport. It's one of those that I follow MLS quite a bit more. It's easier to follow MLS because I have a team literally an hour away. So, you know, if I want to watch a sport, I could literally just watch them and it's easier to access anyways. But yeah, I could even go to a game if I wanted. But thank you guys so much for watching. If there's anything else you'd like me to react to in a comment, let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe for more content just like this. Also with more music and other stuff as well. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.